It's day 3 of trying to get it right. We're going to add some beef up front as a possibility for the Jaguars' first pick. We'll do in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, my name is Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. Welcome to another edition of Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. And we thank you for making us your first listen. As a quick reminder, we are also free to subscribe to on our YouTube page at Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you check that out. And then for the audio podcast listeners, make sure you look wherever you get your podcasts on a daily basis to make sure you do not miss an episode. Shout out to my everydayers that join us here on Locked On Jaguars. As you know, we have been going through and doing a hypothetical situation based on the fact that Trent Baalke says that at 24, they have 3 people in mind, and one of them they're super comfortable is going to be there if the other ones aren't. And we have gone through them. First day it was Brian Branch. Yesterday was Nolan Smith. Today we're going to split it a little bit. We're talking more of a position, but we're going to talk about the differences in the 2 players that we're going to mention. One is Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle of Oklahoma. The other is Osiris Torrence, who's considered the best guard in the draft, but has the versatility to probably play right tackle. So we'll go through those 2 today as we continue with our series. Just a quick reminder, what we're going to do is going to talk about the differences between 2 guys, talk about the importance of adding beef up front. I'll probably mention for the last time why. Well, no, it won't be the last time, but I'll mention why I would have also liked this move even had they kept Jawan Taylor, because I believe the number 1 priority is keeping Trevor Lawrence upright. It's not the only priority, but I believe it is the number 1 priority. So we'll go through that. All right. And we're going to talk about who offers the most versatility out of those 2 guys and why I think it's important to have a championship level offensive line to even give you a shot to win the whole thing. Folks talk about quarterbacks all the time, but it's also bigger than that. Just a quick overall something to help you understand what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do the Magnificent 7, the 7 guys. I'm going to name 7 players, and out of those 7, I think one of them is going to be a Jaguar. Who do I think those 7 players are going to be? So that's tomorrow's draft day show, unless there's something that happens that's crazy. We're going to focus on that. The only thing that could happen is they reach an agreement with like a veteran pass rusher, like a guy that used to be here back in the day, Yannick Ngakoue. So we'll discuss the possibilities of all of that stuff. So make sure if you're an everydayer, you already know what's happening. If you're not an everydayer, if you're a first timer, we welcome you in and come back tomorrow. That makes you an everydayer. All you need is 2 days in a row, and you're going to be an everydayer. It's my job to make sure that you guys get hooked. All right. So let's dive into this. Obviously, what I've done here is go by the words of Trent Baalke and the words of Doug Peterson. Just a quick recap. They have 137 players that they're focused on in the draft, right? They sit at 24. They believe one of 3 people are going to fall to them. We talked yesterday about how that might not be the case. You know what I'm saying? 3 people might not get to you, but we'll assume that they're going to get one of their 3. We've talked about 2 of them. We're going to tell you who. I'm split on the 3rd person, and I'm going to get into the differences of why I'm split on both of these guys. It's draft time, man. It's almost here, so let's get into it. The Jaguars needed pass rush, according to Doug Peterson. That was Nolan Smith. They also needed a slot corner in the worst way. That is Brian Branch. That is what most people consider him to be the best at. And the theme here is the first 2 days, it was all about defense. We can't forget about offense. There's really no room for skill position in player. You can get another tight end, maybe. You might be able to get another tight end, even if you bring Evan Ingram back, somebody that's a little bit different. But I don't know if the value's there to get someone who's not going to be your primary pass catcher at that point. Early, in the draft, especially when you're trying to build. And there's teams you got to beat. There's teams you got to beat that they did not stand pat, and they actually have gotten better. So the Jaguars need to get better. I've always felt that the priority was to keep Trevor upright so he can do his magic. He can't do his magic and get those guys the ball if he's running for his life. And I know it's good to have a getaway car as a quarterback, but I think it's also good to have people up front that are going to protect you. The bodyguards, your security force, right? That's what the offensive line is. The offensive line can also help you control the game, the clock, getting more first downs, being able to get positive yards on first downs because you can run. And once you start running on a team, now play action works even better. And I know there are people that say play action, run success has nothing to do with play action. That's a lie. You can look at stats all day, all you want to, and say that those things aren't combined or that they aren't beneficial. Yeah, the threat of the run, the threat of the fact that your guys are getting whipped and they're tired, that has an absolute profound effect on play action, especially with the half a second that you freeze those linebackers and they functionally don't know what they're supposed to do. Yeah. I mean, if it didn't have any effect on it, people wouldn't waste their time doing it. Now, I can tell you this. I do think being down by 3 touchdowns with 7 minutes to go and you doing play action is dumb because ain't nobody going to buy it at that point. So sometimes when people take that stat, they don't put those numbers in there that would take that average down, that would lean towards play action being important. And the only way that stuff is important is if you're able to knock people off the ball and punch them in the mouth. This is why I wanted Jawan Taylor to be here, because once you start adding guys like the 2 guys I'm going to talk about here in segment 2, once you start adding those guys, now you're cooking with grease, man, because you're stacking up linemen. And you don't just have 4 capable linemen, another guy that's okay, and then 2 or 3 versatile guys on the bench that have played, but they're not really good. No, this needs to be that you have a star, an almost star, 3 really good players, and 2 guys behind them that's sitting there just waiting for their opportunity. And that you're going to have to make a choice in free agency. The choice in free agency is going to be, do I pay him? Like, for instance, the choice with Jawan Taylor, do I pay him or do I let him go? Well, there's some uncertainty, right? There's some uncertainty because Walker Little, while he's been okay, hasn't been great. Cam has been injury prone. And then Trent Baalke said something about Cam Robinson that he'll be physically ready to go in training camp, but didn't say he'd be there. So that's a little vague thing that's kind of hanging over the organization, because now if you need more than 1 offensive lineman just to get back to where you were last year, if you need 2 just to get you back to where you were last year, then that makes this pick even more important. And it's probably why you'll see the Jaguars really take a long, hard look. Now, of the 3 positions that I've looked at over the last 3 days, when Baalke says there's 3 players, the one that I think is most likely to be there is this one. And that's why I saved it for day 3 instead of going in a reverse order. I don't think this is their biggest priority, but I do think that this is the biggest priority of the 3 in terms of what can actually happen. This is the one when you hear Trent Baalke say, in my opinion, we know at least one of those guys are going to be there. We're sure about it. This is the one. So there's a chance that you're going to have a little bit more than 300 and some odd pounds added to the Jaguars roster by Friday morning when you wake up. We'll discuss all of this stuff and get into it more and talk about the differences between Anton Harrison and Osiris Torrence, and we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. First, I have to let you know that today's show is sponsored by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all of the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever, Built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make a healthier snack choice, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you: Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing you won't think they're good for you. You got to try it first. They're made with 100% real chocolate, all right? And sometimes when I say that, then people go, sold. That's all I need, 100% real chocolate. But they have these great flavors and a variety. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. And now you don't need to wait to get a box in the mail. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com. But now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can get your specialty flavors still at Built.com. That's right. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box. That's right. I said 13, with our hit flavors, brownie batter puff, churro puff, and you can thank me later. Make sure you go to your nearest Walmart today. If you just want to go to the pharmacy section and grab a 4-box set of cookies and cream bar, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. Make sure you tap in. It's Built Bar at Built.com and at Walmart and Sam's. All right, running it down with you. Let's get right into it. We set it up. We did all the housekeeping, and now we have to actually talk about the prospects themselves. First, O'Cyrus Torrence. Since he is closer to me in proximity, I saw more of him live watching those games because I'm a Florida State supporter. There's nothing I like more than watching Florida State win than watching Florida lose. So I watched their games, but I also watched O'Cyrus Torrence a lot because I had a debate with a former Gator. Before the season even started, folks were saying O'Cyrus Torrence had a chance to be a first-round pick, and he said, let him play it down first. And I'm saying, dude, it's just a projection, all right? So the projection actually came true that O'Cyrus Torrence is a guy that people love. I've heard people say that he's the best interior offensive lineman that's not a center, so that means guards. I would probably agree with that. I would probably even go far enough to say he's better than Joe Tippmann, and he's better than John David Smith or John Michael Smith. I'd say he's better, so he's probably the best. Someone I trust said that have been evaluating football players for 35, 40 years said that they believe he could play right tackle. So now I'm really intrigued because he may be better suited at guard. And while it's not ideal to have him at right tackle, he can do it. He's big. He lost a little weight in the process. I think he was going like 342 or 345. That's a lot in the regular season. And I think he was in the 330s when it came down to working out. But it still gives you an idea of the type of versatility that he has. Didn't give up sacks, will push anybody and their brother out of the way. So now I'm looking at this from a bodyguard standpoint. I'm looking at this from Trevor Lawrence being protected, especially right up the middle, because a lot of quarterbacks get chased from up the middle and people try to spin them out towards the sideline, so they're limited in where they can throw the ball. If you're running to your left, you're told to not throw the ball towards the middle of the field. And if you're scrambling out, well, if you're running to your right, and then if you're scrambling out towards your left, it's hard to contort your body to turn and even make a really, really good complete pass, even though we've seen Trevor do that. So it's extremely important to be able to guard folks up the middle. And O'Cyrus Torrence can absolutely maul people. I can imagine him in the running game when the game is close and it's late and the Jaguars are trying to manage the game. So the other team runs out, say if you're up by 6 and all you need is a field goal and it's less than 5 minutes, and you start digging out of that clock. You start eating that clock. Tony Boselli, the Jaguars' lone Hall of Famer in their organization, told me this: there's nothing more fun than late in the fourth quarter, and you're coming out of that huddle, and you know you're going to run it, and they know you're going to run it, and they can't do nothing about it. And you got dudes coming in and out of the game because they're huffing and puffing, and that is an offensive lineman's dream to have those things happen that way. So we often talk about offensive linemen in the area of their ability to protect the quarterback, who is the main asset, but we forget about the ability to maul and stomp on people and demoralize them late in games and get Travis Etienne going. That's where those big runs will come from, by the way. So, yeah, I think he'd be a great addition to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said it 3-4 months ago, and I have not changed my tone or my tune. The next player is Anton Harrison. Anton Harrison is from Oklahoma. You know he can pass protect if he's from Oklahoma. He's also a big guy, maybe not as big as Torrence, but he's in that 320-pound range. He played left tackle. He can play right tackle. He can definitely play left tackle, and he might even be able to give you a few snaps at guard if you need him to, but you want a guy like that on the edge. Really good pass blocker, nasty, knows how to pull, can get out in space, a little more nimble-footed, I believe, than Osiris Torrence. I don't think he's as big, but he is long, he is tall, and I think he'd also be a great asset. I want to talk about the differences between the two in terms of what they would actually accomplish and how the line would be constructed here in Jacksonville, and what it would actually mean for them both. And that is a huge deal. I want to tell you this, though. Join Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, and other Locked On NFL local experts on the Locked On NFL Scouting YouTube page for live NFL draft coverage presented by Ultimate Football GM. Kyle and Joe will be. They didn't like my trade up in the mock, but that's all right. They my boys, and we get it in real good. But Kyle and Joe will be live all of rounds 1 and 2 and 3, and then some on Saturday. They'll get you caught up after each round. Join Draft Dudes for the first round tomorrow night live on YouTube on the Locked On NFL Scouting page at 7:30 Eastern Time. We'll talk about the differences in these two players that I have mentioned today, and we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right. Third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. We're talking draft, talking about the differences in how Anton Harrison and Osiris Torrence will affect the Jacksonville Jaguars roster. I mentioned that both players are versatile, but there's a different level of versatility. In the interim, if Cam Robinson's there, I think you plug Osiris Torrence in at left guard, and you look up and 12 years later, he's like Brad Meester. He's been here forever, right? Walker Little is at right tackle. If Cam Robinson isn't ready, of course, we got Luke Fortner at center and Brandon Sheriff at right guard. If Cam Robinson isn't ready for whatever reason that might be out there, then I think you start, obviously, you take a hard look at Walker Little and you determine whether or not you think he is the left tackle of the future. But if he isn't, that's fine. Make him the right tackle of the future, or at least until the contract runs out, because we saw what happened with Juwan. But then that's when you take Anton Harrison and you plant that rookie at left tackle and you say, let's go. Let's get it done. And training camp's going to be big and telling whether or not he's going to be able to do that, because remember, you still want Lawrence protected. But if you think long and short term he's the answer, then you plant him there. The problem with that is when Cam Robinson comes back, if he's not there from the beginning, if Anton Harrison does his job, at that point, that's when I'm looking around the league trying to find out who needs the left tackle. And I'm serious, because Cam told me once he's never played left guard. I don't know if they believe he can or can't, but I wouldn't think that if you put that kid at left tackle and he's doing a really, really good job, that you're going to move him at this point. So what, you're going to move and change your whole line around. So if Cam comes back and you put him at left tackle, you're going to take Harrison and stick him out at right tackle and then move your right tackle, walk a little to left guard. No, that's just too much stuff going on, especially if things are going well, right? I ain't talking about what the team's record is. I'm talking about if the line is playing well, because the line could be playing well and they could still be losing games, right? They could be losing games 38-37 every week. I would not draft a kid like that and put him in that spot and then be moving them all around. The difference is with Osiris Torrence, if you put him at left guard, right? Or if you put him at right tackle, and now you have Walker Little playing left tackle for Cam if Cam isn't there for whatever reason, then it's an easy switch. You just take Walker Little and sling him out to right tackle, put Torrence where he's supposed to play at guard, and then you play. So you say, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this. You're kind of playing guys out of position with the second one until you're trying to get by until you get a guy back. The other difference is, if we're talking about Anton Harrison, if Harrison is playing in the spot that he's best designed to play and he's playing well, and then Cam comes back, well, now you got to knock him off his square and put him somewhere where he just got used to this and he's a rookie, right? So you want to kind of leave him there, and that's a very, very important spot. More important, I believe, than the guard spot where Torrence would be playing. I just think you try to line these young guys up with the most ideal position that you can. And That to me, that's a huge thing in terms of for you determining what you're going to do now, because this isn't just a this weekend thing here. This is for this could possibly affect long term. Like, where are these guys going to play long term? I believe Osiris Torrence's best position is left guard or right guard, but Brandon Sheriff's there, so you're going to play him at left guard. I believe long term Anton Harrison is better at left tackle. I'm not sure about Walker Little. I'm not sure if Cam Robinson is going to be here or not. So that's my thinking. That's how I believe it's going to go. And I believe one of those two guys is the most likely of all the people that I've been mentioning all week to be one of Trent Baalke's 3 out of his 137 that they're focused on at number 24. This is it right here. So tomorrow, I told you guys a quick look ahead, all my everydayers, to be here. I was just about to take a drink of this apple juice I got. But I'm going to name 7 players that are most likely to be Jacksonville Jaguars, and you have heard of 4 of them already. I'm going to name 3 more players, and I'm going to go through why you should be happy if these guys end up Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to tell you, Lucas Van Ness won't be in there, even though I mocked him, because remember, I traded up for Lucas Van Ness, and now I see a lot of mocks with Lucas Van Ness coming to Jacksonville. Not falling to 24, I don't believe. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I keep hearing the dudes going in the top 10 or somewhere between 8 and 16. That's where, I keep hearing that he's going to go. A lot of people made the connection to something that I said that he might seem a little bit redundant to a lesser degree than Trayvon was, because they use a lot of power and they have their long. They play inside and outside. They're multiple, but they also have to learn how to disengage some blocks so that those sack totals go up a little bit. We'll explore the fact that more and more rumors are coming out. I heard it weeks ago that there was mutual interest between Yannick Ngakoue and the Jaguars, and if it happens before, which I doubt, or right after the draft, that could also have an effect on whether or not these edge rushers are going to be available to them at 24. It'll also, if they have that in their pocket and they're just not letting it out, it could also be because they want you to think that they need an edge, so you don't think you have to worry about them. And then somewhere right there in the second round, boom, they pop in and they grab a tight end, or they grab a corner, or grab whatever they didn't grab. Maybe it's Bergeron, the kid out of Syracuse, who can play left and right tackle if they don't go offensive tackle in the first round. So a lot of intriguing things, a lot going on. The everydayers, you all know exactly what it is. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So listen, Locked On NFL mock draft special is here, and it's bigger than ever. I need you to follow along all 32 teams' first pick in a 6-episode ultimate mock draft experience only Locked On can deliver. All episodes are available now on Locked On NFL Draft, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please go check that out. It'll be a nice little primer getting you ready for some of the things that you may or may not see come draft night. I'll be in the house tomorrow for a little while at the draft party at the stadium. Make sure you come up and say hello, shake hands, take pictures. Let me take a picture with you, because y'all are superstars, because y'all are the everydayers that make Locked On Jaguars what it is. Take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow when it's time to get ready for the draft on Locked On Jaguars.